I just can't believe that the educational system has ruined the life of a 5 years old girl. I want to share to you a really meaningful story about Toto Chan. In the book Toto Chan, the little girl at the window. So Toto was 6 years old when she first joined the educational system, aka school. And the first it was her first day there, and when the teacher were teaching the other kids lectures, she was messing around. She was looking everything and observe everything, like look at the sky, look at the desk. And the teacher just saw that, and she was really unpleasant. And few days passed, she kept doing the same behavior, and the teacher can't handle it. She got enough, and she decided to took her to the principal, and he fired. I know he expelled her in like her fourth or fifth day in the school. Like she was diagnosed with ADHD, right? And no one realized that. And I saw a footage of her, in the movie, that she sat in front of her house and she said to herself, "Am I a bad kid? Am I a bad kid?" And that specific scenes really makes me want to cry. Like I feel so much empathy for her. And however, in between the chaos, there was a beautiful flower. Her mom saw that she was expelled, and she think that she needs a school where the freedom of expressions were permitted. Then she found a school called Tomoe Gakuen. Sorry, I don't know much Japanese, but yeah. Um, then she took her to the school, and she met the principal. But surprisingly, the principal told her mom to, go home and do something, and he told Toto Chan to stay with him in his office. And then he proceeds to just, ask her some question about her life. And this is a really unusual thing, because usually the parents did all the paperwork in order to for her kids to join the school, right? But no, he ended up talking to her for hours, and she was really interested in the conversation, because she was never been heard before. No one listened to her, no one cares about her. She in everyone's eyes, she was just a naughty kid. She don't deserve to study in any schools. But guess what he said? "I think you are a really good girl." He said that right in front of her, and for the first time in her life, she felt something. She felt that she was being cared about. She felt that she was important, and she gained the trust for him really fast. And then the journey begins. He ended up taking her to study with her friends in the school, and the classroom were made of a simulator train. Like it's crazy. Like you get to study in a train, and then you got a whole swimming pool outside, and you can pick whatever subject you want to study, as long as you like. The teacher in that school, or exactly the principal, prioritize his student to have as much humanity, as much compassion, as much kindness, and as much as they like. And that's all he wanted. He wanted to raise a bright future generation for the country, and he really cared about all of his students. And when I was reading this, I was relating to them a lot, because I know for a fact that nowadays the educational system is outdated. It really outdated. It just told you, for example, when you go to a classroom, the teacher told you to sit still, and you cannot move, you cannot talk. I mean, it's obvious, it's disrupt the lesson, but it's everything is really strict, and you have to follow it. Or for example, if you got a low grade in one of your exams, you'll be deemed as a failure. you're a loser. You're not getting anyone respect. And the educational system only focus on one type of intelligence. In human, there are eight types. I think so. Like I don't remember, but there are a few types of intelligence, not only the academic intelligence. But sadly, the school just prioritize only that and almost ignore all the others. And you know, she Toto Chan, she developed her personalities and her kindness through volunteering of her teacher. She was not forced to do anything. I remember one time when she was hanging around a disabled kid. He sit on the wheelchair, and Toto Chan just told him, "Do you want to see what the view's like on the tree?" And guess what? He says yes, and she helped him to get on the tree for the first time. She was carrying him on the back, and when he got to the tree, he sat there for hours with her. Like he feels ecstatic. He feels over the moon, and you know, I I just feel so much happiness reading that. Um, but everything doesn't last really long. What did not last really long, because one day, the World War II is really close. This story happens around World War II, right? And she started to notice her mom was cutting down on her food, and everything was really, and the atmosphere in the whole school or in the society in general is really intense. And before she know it, her school got bombed, and she had to move away from her school to go to another place to hide from the war. And I heard that this is a real story from the author. I heard that she or he I must have forgotten, like, for like the person who wrote this book. I think they suffer so much, like exactly not 100% what happened in the story, but I know that it must be really painful to lose something that's precious. And I wish that the educational system now they adapt what was being taught in that book, because the kids really enjoy studying in Tomoe Gakuen, in the school where the principal let freedom of the expression for everyone. Like they grow and they develop by themselves, and that's really something that we must be appreciate. And um I this book, I read it about when I was like 14 or 15 years old. you know I'm not too sure, but I just remember it, and you know all of the memory just came in. Like it made me have a reason to do what I'm doing right now. And for those of you who are looking to read some good books, I recommend you the book called Total Chat, The Little Girl at the Window. It's a slice of life book. It's not something like really fancy, or like those fiction books or light novel, but once you read it, you'll see the beauty of it. And finally, I hope that the educational system might change one day, because for a person that's been through it all, to graduate and now studying in university, I really don't like what they're doing, and I hope that there will be some improvement. And yeah, this is just based on my own opinion. I'm not an expert in anything, and I'm certainly not the type of person who anyone should take advice from. Like, but I say this with my experience, and I'm not afraid to express it. And for those of you who stayed with me, I gotta thank you guys, man. Like, I cannot thank you guys enough. And have a good day, guys. Thank you for watching.